HomeIsWhatIDoBest. I'm here at Black Husky Brewing with one of the co-owners, Tim Eichinger.
Close enough.
And we're going to ask him a few questions about the brewery. We're both River Westers,
Yep.
right? So we're all about local here, and obviously Black Husky Brewing is one of our leading businesses in the community, and they've done a lot of great things. So we're going to pick Tim's brain a little bit about how all of this came about. So
That's going to be a short episode if you're picking my brain. There's not much there.
well, first of all, I'd just like to say that we have a lot of respect for your business. We are local River Westers, my husband and I, and we have come here and really enjoyed what you've created in terms of the ambiance, the beer. So I'm drinking the Dogfather.
I'm drinking the Dogfather.
And what do you have there?
I'm having the Deck Dog. So this is kind of a German-style Pilsner. It's a little more bitter, little lower in alcohol because I've got I'm actually still working. So I've got to keep my wits about me.
Well, I'm still working too. I hope I keep my wits about me. Cheers.
Yeah, of course.
Gross. Or Giveli, as we say.
Really?
I'm Montenegrin. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nero Wolfe was from Montenegro, and I know that because we used to watch a lot of mysteries and stuff like that, and we got into at one point Nero Wolfe, and actually my son named his son, my grandson, Nero, after Nero Wolfe.
That's a great name. So tell us, the name Black Husky, I read a little bit about it, came from a family's dog sled?
It was us.
Oh, it was yours?
Yeah, we had a dog sled kennel up in northern Wisconsin. And it was started by our son Jake, and we had one dog in particular, Howler, who was he was a pretty special dog, not a very good sled dog, but he was my buddy, and we would drink Old Style, do shots of Jägermeister, and just hang out together, and so that's what we named the brewery after, Howler the Black Husky.
Nice. Growing up in LA, so I grew up there for a few years when I was young, my primary school, we were the Monterey Highland Huskies.
Nice.
And I always loved that mascot. So, I picked up the journal one day, I think it was a couple of months ago, and I read about a conversation you had with the president about small business. And I went online and I looked at YouTube and I saw that you were able to go to this like the presidential town hall and ask, for a little help or guidance as to how to keep this alive. Being a small business owner myself, I can appreciate that. And so I was just wondering, did you feel like the response you got and the answer you got was, came to fruition for you?
Yes, and one of the things that he said that first night is he said, a small business is not 500 employees. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. 500 employees is a pretty big business. So he was saying that he was going to target it for smaller places, mom and pop, and that's what we are, mom and pop, Tony and I. And these are our kids, come to work in here. And we've got a pretty tight-knit group, and when you have a really small group like that, you actually interact with people differently. You don't see people as widgets, you see them as people who are part of what you're doing. When you talk about the ambiance, a lot of that comes through not just us, but also how everybody else gets along. You've gone to some places where you know that people are kind of like, you can tell that two people don't get along. We don't have that here. We all get along well. We have a good time together. But one of the things that he talked about at the town hall event was, he said, we'll follow up with you. We'll get your information, follow up. And at the time, we were extremely slow, and I had actually picked up a couple shifts per week. So that was on a Tuesday that the town hall meeting was. On Wednesday, Devin and I were working, and we had like 4 people in here. So I was just sitting at a table talking to somebody because there was nothing to do. My phone goes off and it says Washington, D.C. on it. I'm like, no, what? I think I should pick this call up. And that just started a series of events where a little over a week later, I had a Zoom call with the president, and it's about 25 minutes, just he and I, and it was really interesting to go through that. It was, you know, it was quite an experience, not something that a lot of people were able to do, so I feel privileged that way. And it's opened a lot of doors for us from the standpoint of people just like that. Was really cool. I didn't know you could actually put a tie on. I got a lot of that, you know.
You look really dour.
Yeah, and but you know, a lot of programs that were put together were really, really good. The SBA is still struggling, I think. There's some political things that are going on that are slowing some things down. And a lot of scams too. A lot of scams where people are sending you stuff, and you look at it, and it comes from the SBA.
Right.
It's actually not from the SBA.
I've experienced that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a scam, but I had to call and double check for perception. Or like, yeah, no, we want to give you a small business loan. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, you guys do cater to the community, and you're a nano brewery, is what they call you.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, right?
We used to be a nano brewery, now we're a micro brewery. And to be honest, those are kind of terms that are just thrown around sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you talk about, you know, IPAs versus pale ales. A lot of as the craft beer industry has grown, the definitions have blurred a lot. And so there's just not the, you know, the black and white definition of things. There are certain definitions of size of brewery, and then that is something that the feds and even state government kind of handles, and that pertains to what you can do as far as having a tap room or not having a tap room. Also, how you're taxed. You're taxed at a lower rate at a microbrewery and a higher rate of regional brewery. So just things like that going down the rabbit hole.
Gotcha. But you know, you started out serving your local community, and you're still doing that, but on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
And you do a lot of things for the community. You're always thinking about bringing us in, and recently you did the vaccination clinics.
Yep, did two of them.
And that went really well. And you're really a leader in the local business community. You're kind of one of the bigger fish in the pond, it seems to me. So why did you choose River West? How did you know that you would be such a success here?
I grew up in northern Wisconsin, and Tony grew up in Southside Milwaukee. And her parents actually were they adopted a lot of kids, and I think they adopted the first Korean War refugee back in the late 50s, and I think they also did the first interracial adoption in the state as well back in the 60s. So racial diversity was something that was very important and ingrained in Tony's family. Her mom used to call it her rainbow family, because it was Asian, Native American, African American. It was just a very diverse group of kids. And over the years, we lived in Milwaukee here and there, and then in '99 we moved back up to my hometown, Penline, built a log cabin out in the middle of the woods, and it was great. We really liked it. It was a good time for us to kind of get away and take stock of what am I doing with my life, kind of. And we started the brewery up there. That just kind of happened. And when we decided to come back down to Milwaukee, we wanted to be in a place where there was some racial diversity that was important to us. Because there really is. There's not that up in Penline, so you don't really see that. And given Tony's values and how she grew up, that was something that was extremely important. And I can remember we were looking at different pieces of property, and what our realtor said, have you ever thought about River West? And we're like, what? We were Southsiders, we didn't really know what River West was. And at the time when we were looking, John McGivern had this program on around the corner, and we just watched it. It had been for River West. We're like, well, we should watch that again. The only problem is that even that was in 2015, and up north, we don't have a real good internet connection, and it's gotten better now, but it took us about an hour and a half to watch a 20-minute show because it kept on buffering. And in there, they talk about River West being the most diverse community in Milwaukee, and Tony says that's where we're going.
That's so interesting. I always find myself in these types of communities too, even though, I grew up in LA, a pretty conservative family.
Us too, very, very religious, very, very
right.
conservative.
But I ended up going to Brown University, which is one of the most diverse colleges in the country, maybe the world, I don't know. And then I lived in Oak Park, Illinois, where I met my husband, who brought me back to Milwaukee, where we grew up, and here we are. And I love it. I think it's great. My kids run out to the park just up the street here.
Snails crossing, yeah.
And he meets a new friend every day, and it's a very colorful variety of people, and it's just good for them.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very active neighborhood. There, as far as kind of like talking about the park over here, garden park.
So tell me, what's happening next? I've heard about some type of idea for the park. Are you involved in that?
Yes, we are involved in that along with a couple other businesses and community members so we've got Little and Pattern and Rock House and Vince Bushel. Vince has been around for a long time, and he's one of the original people that, when that was just a vacant lot when they had torn down the building, that really worked on that to get it to be what it is now.
I love it.
And yeah, I think we just are looking at, probably putting together more of a structured sort of organization, make some improvements to it, maybe put up some signage, they used to have the market over there all the time,
right?
And they would have like little bands playing, but they would have to be, laying extension cords across the road in order to give power. And we probably could use it, some power over there for stuff.
Trying to contemporize it for modern use.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're looking at is maybe putting, one of the ideas, we have lots of ideas, is maybe putting like a little container stage up there where people can come up and, so they've done that a lot of the parks, if you look at like Kletch Park and what's the, one downtown, Cathedral Park. A lot of those guys have got little band shells for people to come into. And, with so much talent in the River West, so many artistic things and political things as well, that would be that's a kind of good central place for a lot of that stuff to happen.
Sounds good. That's really smart. So I was telling you that I like IPAs, and the name that you chose for this IPA is Dogfather, and you have a lot of catchy names. But my husband and I laughed because we do have a connection to the movie. So our last name is Duvall.
Okay.
And his uncle is Robert Duvall.
The consigliere.
Consigliere.
Yeah. Counselor.
He's the one Irish,
Yeah.
adopted brother.
Yeah.
So we laughed. We ordered it here, and we were left. And Bill said, "See, my family's everywhere."
Well, we also have that too, because one of our beer vendors, I think you'll be working tonight, Sam. Somebody told him he looked like a young, what's the guy who played the father?
Marlon Brando.
Yeah, young Marlon Brando, and he.
Oh, this man that I just saw walking back and forth.
Yes,
Young guy.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And then I said, yeah, but here's a picture of old Marlon Brando, and so we always get excited.
Well, hey, old or young, Marlon Brando.
But so we call this Dogfather because we had one particular litter of pups that's where Howler came from, and a lot of our dogs. And so right behind you see a picture of Loki, and Loki is on if you get that can, it's got a Dogfather, it's going to have Loki's picture on it, because Loki was the Dogfather, he was the father of all the dogs, so that's why we call it Dogfather.
Oh, good to know. And so you can distribute.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Cool. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about, like the next upcoming event that we should all know about?
We're working on a lot of different things here. I mean, we always have our Oktoberfest. We do have our 5-year anniversary coming up. I don't really know if we're going to do anything or not. We've talked, the Millbillies have approached us about maybe doing a small bluegrass festival here. We're going to do a lot of little things, maybe some trivia. just little odds and ends for people to do. We actually have a little strongman powerlifting gym here upstairs. It's called the Tim Gym, and you might see some Tim Gym t-shirts around downtown here. We just do a lot of little stuff. As the year goes on, we're gonna probably work on that. Have some sports. We're not really a sports bar, it's just not our thing.
You do have food here, I know.
We don't serve food.
Oh, you don't serve food.
We cannot serve food, but you can bring food in. So like Pedro's, they'll park out here.
Oh, right.
But the other thing is that Ness and Dorm, which is right around the corner, you can order food from them. They'll deliver it here, and you get a free beer with each entree.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we have a couple restaurants across.
Yes,
the
you can
street.
go. You can go to Clingers. You can go to Tracks, Sticky Rice.
Yeah, we love all those.
Yeah.
So listen, I really appreciate your time and the awesome brew. I'm going to wrap things up now. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, and we hope to see you really soon. And next time I see you, I'll say, hey, Tim. Like, hey, Rada.
Yeah. Are on the first name basis with a lot of people. That's one thing is that when you're sitting around there, there's just always people you know, and that's kind of we really like that. That's what we always wanted to have.
Well, that was this week's episode of Parkbench River West. And again, I'm with Tim Eichinger.
Yep.
And we'll see you at Black Husky Brewing soon.